Hello, this is Samo Guy in Hawaii with an overview of Infinite Amara, the hopefully final level 72 evolution of what began as Giant Killer Amara, the original Terra Ammo Regen Sleeping Giant build. A save file is linked in the description below. I say final with the expectation that Gearbox will not raise the level cap again. If they do, however, we'll revisit the build. So, the original level 55 build used Terra Ammo Regen to maximize the Sleeping Giant's damage and rate of fire boosts, while avoiding or at least minimizing its main drawback, the need to never reload. Sleeping Giant, however, was eventually superseded by the level 62-65 Torrent build, which, while not quite as effective in specific situations as the Sleeping Giant, was more than adequate and much more flexible. We could switch weapons at will and not worry about or too much about reloading. This is the current level 72 build, and while it still uses the Torrent, there are at least two other major weapon choices and a number of other choices that can still be used in a variety of situations. Special shout out to Stone Swan, who played with this build extensively and came up with some really good improvements and options. The main skill addition since level 65 boosts splash damage, which will be useful when we talk about the new weapons. So to recap, the basic build combines Terra Ammo Regen with as many skill points and passive boosts to magazine size to minimize reloading, maximize DPS, and as a bonus, hopefully eliminate ammo refill anxiety. Okay. The standard setup involves our grenade of choice with an AAC generate Terra anointment and our shield of choice with a wild terrorized regenerate ammo anointment. The shield of choice today is the Revolter, but a stopgap and transformer still work well, and there are others we can play with. Grenade-wise, I swap between the Mesmer for mobbing and its Piss for bossing, but we can use whatever we want as long as we have the ASC Terra Anoint, not a problem with the reroll machine. FYI, in order to get Terra Anoints with the reroll machine, Bloody Harvest must be enabled. Phase Zerker is the go-to combo. We can play around with others like Driver, maybe Breaker, Experiment. Phase Zerker, however, is just overall unmatched. Regardless of what we choose, though, the magazine passive is important. Artifacts can vary. Pearl is a natural given the high rate of fire weapons. Manufacturer-specific company-man artifacts, however, can be very effective, especially if we get ones with double mag size boosts. I'm probably beating a dead horse, but I can't emphasize this enough. Mag size boosts are required, and the more the better. The larger our effective mag size, the more effective Terra Ammo Regen at replacing our ammo, and the easier it is for us to use potentially smaller magazine weapon variants. Smaller mag size normally means larger base damage, although that doesn't always mean maximum DPS. The loadouts I use are all optimized builds. Mag size is maximized, and specific weapon variants take full advantage of this. Okay. Quick overview of action skill use. Ties that bind for mobbing and some bossing. Phase cast for most, but not all bossing. We can also use phase slam, fracture in particular, if we prefer the phase slam 300 anoint to the phase cast 250. With regard to phase cast and ties that bind, ASC generate Terra does not kick in until, as the name suggests, the action skill ends. So when mobbing with ties, it's important when first entering combat to pick a grass target we can kill quickly to get the mechanic going. Also remember that it takes about 7 seconds to achieve the max Terra ammo regen rate, so try not to hold down the trigger right out of the gate. Okay. Once it gets going, however, we just need to fire off our action skill about every 15 seconds, and it remains maxed out. This is not usually a problem. Space out phase cast, however, to avoid a gap if we're using that skill. And now for the guns. Torrent worked before, and it still works just fine for most situations. It actually gets a bit of a boost from heavy range projectile speed increase. The torrents in the save file are optimized for this build and put out the maximum Terra regen DPS while rarely reloading. The only caveat is to monitor ammo usage with a stripped revolter when the rate of fire jumps drastically. This is only really a concern, however, in very long fights, mainly to avoid running out of ammo completely. There's only one situation where this has come up for me, however, and it does not involve the torrent. Okay. The optimal torrent for most mobbing situations, shout out to Stone Swan for this one, is fire with next to mags cryo. Paired with shock action skill, it handles pretty much anything. But there are other elemental examples in the save file. Feel free to change anointments and experiment. Consecutive hits and any next to mag's various elements can work for specific situations. Terra boost to damage and crit damage may work as well. Watch out for the rate of fire. That's the torrent. Okay. The next weapon, and it's not for everyone but works well in a lot of situations, is the Boogeyman. A good damage, high mag size, high accuracy sniper with splash, and a chance to spawn a Boogeyman skull on kill. The skulls are more of an extra that can't be depended on. but the actual damage output is impressive. This is essentially a Gatling laser when aiming down sights, and the splash is why we spec into arms steel and heavy rain. If you like to stand back and snipe at range, and the situation allows for that, this is your weapon. I have done the Valkyrie sequence of the Molly 1 takedown several times without ever leaving the elevator platform with a Boogeyman. Just monitor potential low max situations, again, especially with the Revolter, lest we actually end up reloading too often. This is a sniper with low ammo reserves. As a sniper, we also need to go for crits when possible. It's not ideal for all bossing types. Okay. The third and arguably best weapon for this build is, not surprisingly, the Free Radical. This pistol, when properly employed, outperforms both the Torrent and the Boogeyman, as long as we get used to the charge up time and the projectile speed, which is not bad. Well, not bad is not great. Torrent is about the same. This can handle any content in the game, and as of this post, it is the only weapon that can take down Herbivorous and Vermivorous in a reasonable amount of time with this build, and that's with Phasecast 250 being the normative choice, currently bugged. Okay, as of this post, Phasecast does not work properly versus Herbivorous and Vermivorous. Unless we hit them center of mass, Phasecast misses them completely. This means no action skill damage, no laid bear, no Samsara. Okay. Gearbox is aware of this and working on a fix. In the meantime, it takes me between 5 and 7 minutes to down these two with a Free Radical. When this bug is fixed, that time should drop drastically, and I suspect the Torrent may even become a viable weapon for this fight. Okay. Free Radical also takes down diadems fairly quickly in the Guardian takedown, giving its shock element, something that's a little harder to do with the Torrent. So that's the big three. We can use a whole host of other weapons in all but the toughest content. Most mobbing is both doable and fun with weapons like Ember's Purge, the Needle Gun, the Soul Render. Soul Render is a lot of fun. The skulls do splash.
Why even try?
There's undoubtedly more. Oh, and if we're still willing to put in the prep work and adjust our play accordingly, Sleeping Giant also still shreds. Okay, so the save file has all these weapons and a variety of shields, grenades, and artifacts, and even a few class mod choices. I encourage you to play with all of them and experiment with others and see if you can find more options. Also, when the Phasecast and or Phase Slam bugs are fixed, I will release a quick video linked to these letting you know. And there you go. Enjoy the save file. If you like this content, leave me a comment, a like, maybe subscribe. Also, check me out on twitchtv.com/SamoGuyInHawaii. I stream at least 3 times a week. And as always, stay safe and thanks for watching.